Greetings everyone, and welcome back to another in-depth phone review of a cheapo phone that came out almost 5 years ago, and today is finally the day I'm going to look at it, and that phone in question, you've already seen in the title, is the uleFone Mix. Before I continue on, just to remind you all that there's timestamps or chapters in the description and pinned comments, so you can skip on to wherever you'd like, for example the teardown or the camera test, if you want to, that's why they're there, since I go fairly in-depth as most of you all know, but anyways, let's continue on. So back in August of 2014, Sharp released their Aquos Crystal, or is it Aquos? Not too sure how it's pronounced, but it's this thing here, which was the first device to be triple bezel-less, meaning the top and sides of the display have no bezels, but instead there's a chin on the phone for front camera functionality and etc. This design was followed up a few more times by Sharp, but then Xiaomi came along in October 2016 with a flagship version called the Mi Mix. This was a pretty premium phone in terms of build quality and specifications, and I do own a Mi Mix 3, which is still such a nice device. Sad that it didn't get any major OS updates, but anyways, moving on to the next phone with a similar design, the Doogee Mix, which has the same sort of look but with an added fingerprint scanner on the front, same triple bezel-less design, and was released sometime in August of 2017. And this was a budget-orientated device, however, and not a flagship, so a lot of corners were cut, but it seemed to be an alright phone for what it was, and nothing too spectacular. Then on the 21st of September 2017, uleFone decided to have their own take on this design and release their version of the Mix, which once again is also a budget-orientated device, and largely looks like the Doogee Mix, and this is it. Right here. I haven't looked at a uleFone device on the channel before, and I bought this in early 2020 from Cash Converters for, well, it says $69, but I did get it for $50, and it's been sitting around doing basically nothing, and I have had plans to review this, but just never had a proper video planned until my N9 clone review, which I'll cut up here if you want to check that out, as that has some pretty unexpected functionality. But in that video I showed this, the uleFone Mix, and said if people wanted to see it, and you folks said you want to see it, so here we are, we're going to see it. Now with this design, even in 2020, I still like this, and while there are still bezels on this obviously, the Sharp and the Xiaomi ones had barely any side and top bezels, whereas these are more pronounced on this one due to this being more budget focused, and you'll see this once I eventually power this on. Now the whole question of this video today is, can this 5-year-old phone still be used as a cheap daily driver, and given its $50 price tag that I paid for it, it has to be a lot better than any Welcome phone demonstrated on this channel. Also with the phone being this old, you can't really find any new ones for sale. Originally when I got this in 2020, Banggood was selling it for $146 Australian, but sadly it's been discontinued, and I'm honestly not too sure of any recent devices with this design that are still available. Pretty much every phone has ditched this design, which isn't for everyone, I'll agree with that. Anyways, I just want to give you a quick rundown of the specifications of the uleFone Mix. So it was released in September of 2017, and it was sold around the $200 Australian mark as far as I can tell. May have been a little bit more, a little bit less depending on where it was sold. It's got a metal frame, plastic back, and the front is glass, which is protected by Gorilla Glass 3. The dimensions of this phone are 143 by 75 by 8.7 millimeters. The processor in this is the MediaTek MT6750T, which is an octa-core running at 1.5 GHz. The GPU is just a Mali T860. We have 4GB of LPDDR3 RAM, 64GB of internal storage, with the option to add a microSD card up to 256GB. The display is a 5.5-inch 1280 by 720 IPS LCD with a 16:9 aspect ratio. It is running a stock version of Android 7.0, which is good. We have a 13-megapixel rear camera with 1080p video, then a secondary rear camera, which says it's a 0.3 megapixel interpolated to 5 megapixels, but I'll get back to this secondary camera a bit later on. The front camera is also an 8 megapixel one, but once again it's interpolated to 13 megapixels. I don't know why it all has to be interpolated, just to maybe say a higher megapixel count. Anyways, there's a 3300 mAh battery inside of this, and only has 5V 1.5 amp charging, which it is what it is. Charges via micro USB as well, which for 2017 makes sense. If it was a 2022 phone with micro USB, then yeah, that's a bit of a problem I guess. We've got GPS, 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a bunch of sensors including the front mounted fingerprint sensor, as well as a notification LED, headphone jack, and it's a dual 4G phone, which I'll display the bands on screen if you somehow have found this phone for sale and were interested in what bands it does support. Just a note about the dual SIM configuration with this phone. If you do choose to use dual SIMs, one will run at 4G and the other one will be running at 2G. Both slots will run at 4G, but if you choose to use dual SIM, it'll be 4G and 2G. But you'll have the option on the SIM tray for dual SIMs or one 4G SIM and a microSD card. So that's it for the specifications of this device. It's not too powerful by any means, but I'm here to check it out and see if it is more than reasonable for most usage scenarios. Just quickly, some advertisements from the listing on Banggood. So this is what would have came inside of the box. Unfortunately, I don't have the box. I just got the phone as it is. Mix all screen, which shows the main specifications, as well as a picture of the phone, with the bezels less pronounced than what they actually are. I'll show you properly once I power it on. Groundbreaking all screen sets you free from boundaries. Imagination is boundless, and the same should be true of our vision. Thanks to the groundbreaking all screen design, all you see is pure content without interferences from annoying bezels. Meanwhile, without enlarging the screen size, the display area has been maximized for an extraordinarily bigger vision. So with an amazing full display on the Mix, you can experience more immersive visual enjoyment that you never had before when watching movies or playing games. I mean, there is technically still a bezel there, but anyways. How did we achieve this full display design? You kind of pinched it off other manufacturers, but that's okay. Technical innovation makes it work, which is a good way of saying we copied it, but it's okay, it's our design. To achieve the all-screen design with a display covering almost the whole front panel, we redesigned the layout of the phone from the inside out through miniaturizing the earpiece, moving the selfie camera and the light sensor below the display, and narrowing the bezels around the display to nearly 0mm. Finally, the display on the Mix take up nearly all of the front surface area with an unprecedentedly broader vision. The all-screen uleFone Mix redefines the immersive visual experience, and it has an invisible camera and L sensor and the tri-bezel-less design. I don't know why they're talking about the invisible camera because I can clearly see it on this unit, but anyways. A lack of bezels leads to a more fragile display for you 1,000 times over. I guess at this point in time, they're really trying to sell this triple bezel-less design that was available in 2014, then Xiaomi sort of rolled along with it, and then everyone else rolled along with it, and now it doesn't exist anymore. And uleFone's kind of went, yeah, well, you know, it exists. Exceptional viewing experience, vibrant 5.5-inch HD display. Aside from offering a larger bezel-free viewing experience, the 5.5-inch HD display on the Mix with extra high optical transmissivity and high contrast ratio delivers stunning images with vivid colors and sharp details. The world you hold in your palm is just identical to the real world. Two different worlds, the same pleasure. And there's a B. He looks evil. Snappy overall performance. MT6750T octa-core chipset and 4GB of RAM. I'm not entirely sure how capable this MediaTek chipset is, but we'll give it a go. Keep in mind this is from 2017, so we've got the huge capacity makes greatness. Massive 64GB of ROM and expandable up to 256GB. 64GB. Groundbreaking. And if I remember correctly, the Nokia N9, which was released back in 2011, was the first device with 64GB of internal storage. Alright, the back cameras in the listing. Here we go. 2 is better than 1. Sony 13MP plus 5MP dual cameras. The Mix sports dual cameras on the back. A 13MP Sony IMX258 sensors to capture major subjects and a 5MP subsidiary shooter to achieve artsy depth of field effects. Now, as I've said, that secondary camera, I'm not too sure it actually does anything. And yeah, it's actually a 0.3MP camera that they've interpolated to 5MP. During the camera test, it didn't seem to do anything. I'll talk about that when I get to that. But according to that, we've got DSLR quality bokeh effects though, which I can tell you at this point in time, that's not true. Take beautiful snap of your own. 13MP selfie camera. It's not 13MP, it's 8MP that they've interpolated to 13MP. But if you are looking for a perfect phone to take care of all your selfie needs, the Mix is definitely at the top of your list. And you can see that the phone is upside down, which is kind of the whole point of this device. Once again, I'll show you when we get to that. Safeguard your personal data. 0.1 second smart fingerprint ID. Yep, they've chucked a fingerprint scanner on the front of the phone. We will test that out and see how quick it is. Bridge to the real world and the virtual reality. High precision 6-axis gyroscope. Also, the text in this advertising is kind of, I don't know, it looks all shaky for some reason. Anyways. Oh yeah, mobile phones as VR devices were a thing back in 2017. I forgot about that. Lastly, in the advertisements, we've just got the extra high quality video and voice call via VO LTE, and of course the smooth, efficient, and user-friendly pure Android 7.0 Nougat, which their engineers also add some user-friendly tweaks to the uleFone Mix for more delightful use. We'll see about that. Alright, enough of the specs and the ads and stuff. Let's finally check out this phone since it's been sitting around for a few years now. Here it is once again. I am going to remove this because it's kind of scratched up and it looks a lot better now. And I will say, it does look very, very sleek. Not that you can actually see the LCD properly at this point in time, but when I power it on, you'll get to see it. We've got the tiny, tiny little earpiece up there, and then going down at the bottom, we've got the fingerprint sensor, as well as the invisible front camera, which is clearly not invisible. But anywho, the light sensors are also right there. You can't really see them, but they are definitely right there. On the left side of the device, we have a volume rocker as well as a power button. At the bottom, we have some antenna bands, 2 speaker grills, microphone, and the micro USB port. Nothing much on this side apart from the SIM tray. At the top, we have some more antenna bands and the headphone jack. And on the back, here it is, the uleFone Mix, with some certifications there, because why not? The $69 price tag, good stuff, cashies, and the dual rear cameras, which does say dual lens there. That's the main sensor, and that's the secondary one, which, yeah, I'm not too sure of its purpose, because in the camera test, it didn't really do anything for me, but we'll investigate it a little bit more. We've got the 2 LEDs just there, and the build of this phone is surprisingly solid. It's got a metal frame, a plastic back, which it is what it is. It looks like glass, but no, it's plastic. Altogether though, it does feel like a solid device. For the price that this was available for, it's not too bad though. I mean, for what I paid for it, I'm pretty happy with that. Let me pop out the SIM tray, and of course this isn't water resistant or anything like that, no certifications here, it's just completely standard, but the SIM tray has options for a micro SIM and a nano SIM, or you can just use a micro SIM at 4G with a micro SD card. Alright, with a Vodafone SIM and a micro SD card installed, let's power on the uleFone Mix and take a look at it. There we go. And there we go, we've got set up. Taking a first look at the display, it is a 720p IPS LCD, and it does look actually fairly nice, I will admit that, but you can also see the bezels going around the device. It's not as bezel-less as the Xiaomi Mix and the Sharp one, as well as in the advertising. Still, I like the design for what it is. It definitely does have dual band Wi-Fi, so I'll sign into my Wi-Fi network with the standard Gboard right there. I'll go ahead and put my Gmail on here. Okay, that's all done, and we may as well add a fingerprint now. Locate the fingerprint sensor on the back of your phone. Well, that's clearly wrong, but okay. So we'll just quickly do this, use whatever real estate I've got without the band-aid here, and there you go, done. Did it work, or did it not work? Oh, okay, yep, no, that's duplicate one. Google Assistant, we'll leave that, that's okay. Anything else? Nope, that's fine. And here we go, we have booted up. And once again, just taking a look at the display, it's quite sharp. But once again, the bezels are there. You can see them going around the display, but honestly, the experience does look pretty good. Swiping down, you can see all shortcuts and stuff. I've got 88% battery life. I'll quickly show you the torch, which doesn't look like much here, but actually performed quite well when I've done some night shots. Maybe there's a night mode on here that I kind of missed. Auto rotate, Bluetooth, airplane mode, location, and hotspot. Nothing much here. We'll quickly just, oh, what was that? Oh, com.mediatek mobile audio connection may be harmful. Oh, it's not connection, it's connection. Fair enough. Let's see if this works. Oh, okay. I'll do that again. So just quickly tap. Yep, it's not completely instant, but it is pretty fast. There you go. Just to make sure, it's legit. It's not a welcome device. There we go. This is stock Android 7, so we've got browser, calculator, calendar, camera, Chrome, clock, contacts, downloads, drive, Duo file manager, FM radio, Gmail, Google Maps, messages, phone, photos, play movies and TV, play music, Play Store, settings, SIM toolkit, sound recorder, voice search, and YouTube on here. So pretty much everything is on here. I don't need to download too much except for games and specification apps and all that sort of thing. Let's go ahead and give this a call perhaps, because we've got 4G and a fairly strong signal. So we'll see what the default ringtone is. It should be Fluty Phone. I'm fairly sure it should be Fluty Phone. If it's not, that'll be something. There we go.
And this is what the quality of calls sound like on the uleFone Mix. This is the earpiece with Vodafone at 4G. So VO LTE is on, or voice over LTE. And yep, this is pretty clear as far as I've tested. So let's move on to the microphone. And the microphone on the uleFone Mix sounds a little something like this. Honestly, it doesn't sound too bad. Pretty clear for what it is. I'm pretty happy with this, so let's continue on with this review.
Even though we've got a tiny little earpiece, it's actually quite loud, so that's good. And I thought it would have been a bit of an issue with the light sensors down at the bottom, with the light sensors usually being at the top of the phone, and when you answer a call, it'll switch the phone screen off. And I was kind of worried that that wouldn't happen with this, but no, when I put this up to the side of my face, the display switched off, so with them being down the bottom, it doesn't actually affect it. So I will say, I think we're off to a pretty good start. But going back into our applications, I think we should go straight to settings first. Let's completely go through settings, check everything out, and make sure everything's looking all standard, which I'm fairly sure it is. I don't think there's going to be anything dodgy on this, but we will check through the application list, and I will run the secret codes application and activity launcher, just in case. You never know. Wi-Fi we know is 2.4 GHz as well as 5 GHz. We've got Bluetooth, SIM cards, where you can change which SIM cards your data on, switch them around, etc. Data usage, more. We don't have NFC on this device, which I guess wasn't a deal breaker back in 2017. Mobile network settings definitely has 4G LTE, so that's all good here. In display, we've got mirror vision, brightness level, live display. What is live display? Oh, okay, you can tune the display. That's pretty cool. I'll just leave everything at default. Wallpaper, let's take a look at the wallpapers on this. So we've got that one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Oh, Paris, I think. Ooh, sand. This one, I am unique. Yes, you are. Road, red sort of, I don't know. Blue, oh, where's that? That's from Samsung. That's definitely from Samsung. I think these are pinched from a couple of different brands, actually. Mirror. thing, black hole, bubbles, hollow spiral, and phase beam. Once again, I'll praise the display on this. It does look quite nice, and I will stick with the default wallpaper. I'm not picky and choosy with this one. Press power button twice for camera, which does work. Screensaver, font size, display size, all that sort of good stuff there. Moving on, notifications is all the applications. So we'll show system, and I'm going to scroll through here really quickly, well, sort of as quick as I can, and see if there's anything to note here. There's probably not. I don't think uleFone's going to put anything dodgy on here, but you never know, you never know. I've never looked at a uleFone device before fingerprint test. Okay, that's fair. So, you never know. Could be something, but it's all looking fairly stock. A couple of MediaTek stuff that was just up there, but I think it's pretty much stock Android 7. Stress test. Oh, we should try that. Work profile setup, wireless updates there, YGPS, the usual stuff with MediaTek. So that's all looking fairly good. Sound, do we have any sound enhancements? Yes, we do. We have best loudness. Cool, we'll keep best loudness on. But yeah, the fluty phone was the phone ringtone. And so far the speaker didn't actually sound too bad either, but we'll test that again when we get to BFG Division, FM radio, and the YouTube test. Apps is gonna just show us apps again, so no point going into there. Storage, it says we have 78 gigabytes, but it's the 64 gigs plus the 16 gig microSD card I've put in here. Battery is 84%. I can tell you now, since I have played around with this device previously, not too in depth, but you know, I've just put a couple of applications on when I was planning to do a video originally, and the battery's only a 3300 milliamp hour one in this, and with the battery possibly being 4 years old, it has degraded over time. You'd probably get a day usage out of this, and that's pretty much what I would see from my tests and stuff, like during the camera test and all that. If you're going to be doing intensive stuff on this, obviously it's going to drain a lot faster. When I put a bunch of games on here and we test them, we'll see what the battery percentage is at. It's going to be nothing too spectacular, and in terms of charging speed, it's basically locked at 5 volt 1 amp. It does take a while to charge, but for a 2017 budget phone, I can't complain too much for what I paid for it. In memory, we do have the 4 gigabytes listed. We'll double check that in the specs, but I'm fairly sure that's all good. Navigation bar is here, so navigation bar can be hidden, and you can choose a whole bunch of different layouts. So if I had it as, let's say this, which I'm kind of more accustomed to having the back button there, you can press this to open the notification bar, or you could just press this to hide it, and you get a full screen experience. But the home button itself, on some phones you could swipe on the home button to do extra functions, but this is just press once to go back, that's it. And pressing and holding doesn't do too much. Breathing light, which is the notification LED, which is located just down there. There it is. Right there. Location, we'll just leave. Intelligent assist though, finger gesture. Oh, okay. 2 fingers change wallpaper, and 3 finger screenshot. Okay, I thought maybe there was a shortcut for this, but nope, not yet. Gesture wake, which is draw a letter on the screen. I thought that said welcome there for a second. I thought it was going to spell out welcome. Wait, W, E, is there an L? Is there an L? No. But it's basically welcome. Yeah, if you draw a letter on the screen, it will open up certain things. So let's do that actually. What was it? S. Oh, I gotta unlock the phone. But yep, that worked. Within security, we've just got the fingerprint setup, no face unlock or anything, which would be kind of a bit weird because the camera's there, and when you look at the phone like this, your face is kind of tilted and it kind of doesn't really work, so it makes sense not to include it. I mean, they could have though. Accounts, Google, languages and input, backup reset, date and time, accessibility. We just have all the usual stuff within accessibility here. Anything to note though? Nothing here. Printing, schedule power on and off, and about phone Android 7.0. So here we go. Wireless update. Let's quickly check to see if we have an update. We probably don't. We won't. There you go. But it's an A1 T816 GQ3051 uleFone Mix V10 2018. 2018, there you go. So that's the firmware on this. It probably maybe did get a security patch at one point in time, but that's not going to happen nowadays. In status, we do have a unique serial number right there. I really am not used to seeing unique serial numbers on devices. I just automatically assume everything is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, F. There's both IMEIs there if you want to check them up, feel free. They should be associated with this. I don't see why they wouldn't be. The model number is the Mix. Android version is 7, so if we trigger the Easter egg, which I can't remember what this is, it's the cat one, isn't it? Oh, there he is. There's the little cat there that came up. But yeah, I've never really tested the Android 7 Easter egg. I think it's available here, I think. You edit this and then you put something there, Android Easter egg, and then you put that there and you do that, and then you kind of do something like this, and then you go to that and you press empty dish and you do fish and you've just fed your pet. It's like a Tamagotchi. Does anyone remember Tamagotchis? Or Digimon? I was more into Digimon, not Tamagotchi, but anywho. Yeah, the security patch level, 5th of December 2018, kernel version and the build number. I'll enable developer options to turn down the animations to make it feel like it's running faster. And look, I will say at this point in time, it's actually quite a snappy device, with it being stock Android 7 as well. It's pretty snappy. Like, everything's pretty good for what it is. There's like zero lag, and like if I was to just quickly open Chrome, and there you go, that's done. You know, everything's just very snappy. When I come back to testing the applications, I'll try and demonstrate just how snappy it is, but you can see it here. It's like pretty fast. Let me just close everything in the background, see? But it's time to go to camera though, because I want to show you the camera. So we definitely have autofocus. There we go. We do have manual focus. HDR is also available, and we have panorama, photo, video, beauty, bokeh, and if we go into settings, we've got all of the options here. Now when I did take the photos originally, I did come into here, and it was set at 13 megapixels, I did turn on EIS, and the video quality I set to fine. But if we come to bokeh, and I cover up the second camera like so, I can still do this and do blurred effects, and you can see the blur kicking in. So if I just take a photo like that, and I'm still covering the back camera, the blur effects have still turned out. So I have a feeling, I could be completely wrong, but I think it's a dud. I think they've just put it in there and said, hey, there's a secondary camera, so yeah, there you go. It will still do the blur effect with or without my finger over the camera. So it's more of an investigation when we get to the teardown. Otherwise, everything is basically pretty standard on here. So if I come back to photo, you can't switch to the front camera, just like so. But if you did this, oh, look at that. That's very advanced, isn't it? Front camera's up there because that's how you're meant to take selfies, is with the phone being upside down. Because if it's just like this, and then if I manually set it and go to the front camera, it's going to look a little something like this. So it's a little strange, you know, everything's kind of just that way sort of thing. But I have done the camera test with it being there and then with the phone upside down. Anyways, 13 megapixel rear camera, let's just say 8 megapixel front one. How do cameras from a budget phone from 2017 perform? Let me splice in the photos and videos that I did take with the uleFone mix, and we'll be right back. Alright, testing the rear camera quality of the uleFone mix, and we do have autofocus. We'll just leave it, there we go. We also do have manual focus, right there, perfect. It's also stabilized as well, which is good. The EIS definitely does work. The photos, on the other hand, did look okay. with HDR as well, but the secondary camera on the back appears to be a dud because I've covered it up. I'll just focus on that, and it still was able to take the bokeh effects, which is just the blurred circle around an object. So I'm thinking that it's a dud one, possibly, but that's me moving the phone like that, and yeah, it's stabilized. I mean, on the website it does say that it's a 0.3 megapixel secondary rear camera, so I'm not expecting too much. Also, someone broke Stuart as well. I don't know what happened, but I had to put electrical tape on him and hold him back together. See, I found him, and his head was all cracked open, so now he looks a little something like this. Poor Stuart. The lemon tree probably has a lemon on it now. I think it has. There's one there and one somewhere in there, which is good. Oh, there's a couple actually. And the faraway aircon looks a little something like that. Can we see breeze there? Oh, that was an autofocus and a half. Oh, okay. Yep, no, we definitely can't see it. That's me sort of waving around the phone. No optical image stabilization, but the EIS is definitely working pretty well, so I'm actually happy with that. Alright, now it's night time with the LED flash on with the uleFone mix. And you can see the sort of jitteriness of the EIS kicking in, but this all works. Still has autofocus as well, which works, and I can still manual focus in. And yeah, the photos that I just took actually didn't look half bad, to be honest. And the flash is pretty bright, as you've seen before. Even in 2022, this is beating a lot of Welcome phones that cost, what, double the price of this? Well, what I paid for it anyways. But anywho, let's get moving on. Hello. Do you just want a belly rub, do you? That's all you want? Okay, belly rubs then. Yeah, you go, belly rubs. Happy now? No, don't attack me. You're supposed to love me. Okay, this is really weird, testing the front camera of the uleFone Mix, and with the camera down the bottom right hand corner, I'm looking directly at it now, but it's weird because the camera's not up there, and if I look up there it's not there, and it's very, very confusing. But if I do a little quick like that, that's much better. So that's how you're supposed to be using this phone to record video with the front camera, is holding it upside down. But it works perfectly fine. And EIS is on, as you can see right there. There is no jelly movement whatsoever. It's quite stabilized, to be honest. That's very surprising. No manual focus or autofocus on this front camera either. There was HDR, which did kind of work. Beauty mode was also a little bit sort of weird, but it works, and it's not a bad camera from what I can see anyways on the display. It's not a bad camera for this device that's from 2017, so that would probably be it for the camera test. So let's move on and show you the rest of this device. Okay, well you've just seen the photos and videos that I took with the uleFone Mix, and I've got to say the rear camera actually isn't too bad at all, and does in fact take 13 megapixel photos. The front camera, however, doesn't interplay anything, it just takes 8 megapixel shots, which is completely fine with me. Front camera wise, it's not the best by any means, no autofocus or anything like that. Also with photos, HDR just brightened everything up, which I suppose that's kind of what it's supposed to do, but anywho. Video wise, EIS definitely works, I can say that. 1080p video on the rear camera, and 480p on the front camera. Front camera wise, yeah, not the best, and rear camera is not the best either, but I'll say it again, for a budget device in 2017, it's not bad. It is not terrible, it's not bad, it's not fantastic, it's okay. But yeah, I'm just really curious about this secondary camera. It just doesn't seem to do anything. So maybe we want to take it apart. I'll take that camera out, boot it up, see if it still works and see if it complains or anything. I've installed CPU apps, Geekbench, and Genshin Impact, San Andreas, and a couple of other things as well. And I got to see the battery life go like that. While Genshin Impact was installing and downloading the game files, the battery life was just going wee. So I can tell you now the battery life is not that good on this. Maybe when it was released, it probably would have held up a little bit better than it is now. But take note, right now it's on 84%. So when I play some games and stuff, we'll see what that comes down to. Anyways, let's start testing out the system now that I've loaded apps on it. Browser's obviously going to be the default generic Android browser, which we just allow everything, and it's going to show the uleFone website, which looks a little something like this. Yeah, they've got new phones out. I mean, that's obviously to be expected, of course, and I think they've emailed me and wanted me to have a look at a phone, but I can't quite remember. But uleFone, if you're watching, I'm looking at one of your phones right now, so feel free to contact me if you want to see me review one of your devices. Oh, hello, that phone has a built-in earphones and stuff like that Nokia and a couple of other phones that have been released. Anyways, browsing-wise, so far, looks pretty good. I'm only on just one website, but if I go to tablets, everything loads nice and snappy, and everything's kind of formatted. There we go. Beautiful. But that's browser though, not Chrome. We've got to come back to Chrome. The calculator is going to look like a calculator. I don't really need to go into that, but I've just gone into, hey, it's different. Hey, there's a theme. Hey, okay. I didn't know there's themes. Dark. Okay. Oh yeah, it does work. Cool. Calendar, camera, Chrome. Let's demonstrate Chrome. So let's just Google uleFone. I can't spell, mix. There we go. That's fine. uleFone mix. There we go. I mean, I can't say it's going to be definitely fine for everything, but just a quick basic browsing experience seems fairly good, and all the specifications are there. We can zoom into the watermark that's there on that good old JPEG. And yeah, MT6750T or MT6750T, however you want to say it. For browsing, it seems to be quite fine. I don't think there's going to be issues with it. 4GB of RAM and the octa-core processor. More than enough for just, going ahead and just opening up random things on the interwebs. Social media might be a different thing, but for now, it seems okay. Clock, contacts, CPU Z, device info hardware we'll come back to, downloads, drive, duo, file manager. I mean, I can just show you what file manager looks like. It looks a little something like this. It's not stock, it's something else, probably a different skin file manager or something, but if you go to file and internal, there you go, there it all is there. FM radio, let's try this. Good old headphone jack, we miss you very much. Hey, you're still on some phones, but What's on Australian radio on a Saturday night at 8:15 PM? A song that I'll probably not even recognise. Oh, yes, I do recognise it. 90s techno. Holy crap, that brings back a lot of memories. Anyways, FM radio works, as it should do anyways. Up next, we're going to skip Geekbench, Genshin Impact, Gmail, Google TV, San Andreas, Maps, Messages, Phone, Photos, Play Music, Play Store. There's no music app. Oh, Play Music is going to be the app, isn't it? So we may as well taste the speaker. Yeah, that's fine. I guess we have to download YouTube Music then. No, there's a better way. I'll just go to Musics. Okay, that's the first time I've ever encountered MP3 file format is not supported. Okay, then I'll download YouTube Music then. While it's installing this, I can tell you now, it's getting quite warm around this area, and when it was installing Genshin Impact, whoa, it was hot. It was a very, very hot device. Yeah, there's probably not a lot of thermal stuff in here, but we'll take a look when we tear it down. YouTube Music is installing. Give it a moment. We'll come back to application lists. Like, I don't really need to show Gmail and Google TV. Actually, Google TV. What's Google TV? I've actually don't know Google TV. Oh, it's just to sync with your TV or whatever. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. You put your streaming services on here and that makes sense. Okay, well, I know what that is now, I just never used it. Yeah, as I was saying, I don't really need to go into the other applications since they're stock. You don't really need to see like Sim Toolkit and voice search and stuff. You already know what they're going to do. So I can open, YouTube and YouTube Music is next to each other, so I'll just go YouTube Music. There we go. No dual speaker configuration, just the single firing speaker, so let's find it. There? Yeah, about there. Doesn't sound too good, honestly. But I have a solution. What if we turn best loudness off? Because, that probably doesn't help at all. Now, let me try that again. I mean, it's quieter now. Yeah, very quiet. Okay, so best loudness does make a difference. Let me actually try something with vocals for a change. Okay, the speaker was kind of promising, but now it's just sort of very average. At half volume, it doesn't sound too bad. And that's with best loudness on. I was going to say they could have done a dual speaker configuration, maybe put 2 speakers down the bottom here, but they've just stuck with 1, and the tiny little earpiece can't really do much for sound. It does sound loud anyways. In terms of sound though, we should try Costa Rica so we can test the display and see the battery life as well. keep an eye on that. We'll try Costa Rica in 4K and see what that looks like on this display. Because once again, the display is nice and bright. All the colors are nice and sharp. I've said nice a couple of times there. It's a nice display. Just too bad that there are still bezels going around it though. 1080p, 60 FPS. Come on, it should be fine. There we go. Oh no. Oh, wait, no, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry, crisis averted. Hey, that's not bad. Look at that. Come on. You can't tell me that's not a bad display. It looks good. Yeah, no, that's good. 1080p, 60 FPS, no problems. But the phone is heating up, obviously, in this area here, which is to be expected, of course. I mean, with this device, so far there's a couple of bumps in the road here and there, but most of the things are looking quite positive with this. So I think we should start pushing this phone just a little bit further in terms of performance. And let's try Geekbench 5 and run this. Who knows how long this is going to take. It shouldn't be that bad. It's a WeTech as well, by the way. WeTech, not uleFone. I actually think that's a generic name that they assign to some phones. I've seen WeTech before. Android 7, 2 clusters, each with 4 cores. We will run this and we'll watch the battery life just drain, I suppose. Hey, you never know, it might be alright. Actually, no, I take that back. I know the battery's degraded over time, but it's okay. Once we try Genshin Impact in San Andreas, oh, it's done. Whoa. Alright, that took a while. Alright, so we got 122 for the single and 606 for the multi. I'll display some previous scores from other phones here. I don't have any scores at the top of my head. They're only numbers at the end of the day, but they're not too bad. They're not single digits at least, so that's a good sign. What better way to show performance than with gaming, of course. Alright, so San Andreas is booted up. Resolution, draw distance, shadows, advanced, car reflections, detailed or maximum. Max will do. That's about it there. Let's see how it goes. Oh, I forgot to turn the volume off, the music. Well, here it is. Hey! Yeah? Well, I guess I'm just gonna stick with buttons. Hey, it's not half bad. It's just a little bit laggy. Oop, whoops, I wasn't watching where I was going. If I stay on the bike as well, that means that there's no sound, there's no audio from the radio, but that makes it less exciting, doesn't it? Let's see if I can do some cool wheelies and stuff down the freeway. Go, whee! Didn't make it. Oh, dang. Didn't fall off either, huh? If you turn down the settings ever so slightly, then you would basically get an uninterrupted experience. It shouldn't lag that much. Let me just get in the car for good measure. I now have a car. Let's speed away. Honestly, the chin really doesn't make a difference either. Oh, if it helps watching where I'm going. Haptic feedback also works too. I know if it's probably, you know, my whole iconic look here, but the touchscreen isn't really accepting many inputs. It's kind of just working and then not working, but I'm pretty sure that's not the phone's fault. It's just me. But yeah, that's good. That's actually quite reasonable. I mean, San Andreas could run on a PlayStation 2. If it couldn't run on this, then there's a bit of a problem. But yeah, all good for here. So now let's switch to Genshin Impact and watch the phone suffer. I think it'll suffer on Genshin Impact, to be honest. Battery life's at 66% as well. That's not too bad. Alright, Genshin Impact. Here we go. Oh boy, playing San Andreas for like that 3 or 4 minutes. Whoa, that's toasty. Okay. Genshin Impact has finally loaded, and this is what it kind of looks like. Hang on, give it a second. It might kick in. It might be a little bit more playable in a second. Give it a moment. I've also got my save data to this point, so I can just go ahead and change the settings and go for it instead of doing the really long tutorial and wait for the cutscenes and all that sort of stuff. I'm not too sure what the settings are at. They're looking pretty low. Oh, yep, they're on the lowest. Okay, let's put everything on the highest. We'll just see what that looks like now. On the bright side, it looks pretty nice now. The bad news is that it's even more laggier, which was kind of to be expected. But it looks nice. That's the main thing. It looks nice. Yeah, so I'm going to have to go back down to the lower settings. Can I actually make it any lower than what it was already set on? Okay, let's try this. Oh, that didn't really work. It's still fairly laggy. Well, at least I tried. It's going to be okay for sort of not too intensive games, but I think Genshin's not made specifically for this device. It's playable if you were desperate enough. I think you get the rough idea of performance at this point in time. Older stuff, no problems. Intensive games like this, you're gonna have a bad time. Battery life is kind of holding up a little bit. Only lost 6% during that test. The phone was really heating up. It's getting a little cooler, but I think what we should do, I'm going to ignore CPU-Z and open up device info hardware actually, just to double check the specs. uleFone mix, everything here. We've got the gyroscope, camera, the lens autofocus, oh, sub autofocus and main autofocus, okay. Fingerprint, 4GB LP DDR3, 64GB, MT6750T, octa-core processor, all that good stuff there. The serial number, which is unique to this device, which is kind of cool. Multi-touch test. Let me do the multi-touch. It's 5, I think. It advertised 5, and 5 is correct. But look, see what's kind of happening there? Maybe my touchscreen's just iffy, because, yeah, you know. Strange. 1280 by 720, 16 by 9. Memory, all looking good. Cameras, what does it say here? Okay, 13 megapixels, 13 megapixels, 13 megapixels, and the other one doesn't say anything. 3000 milliamp hours for the power profile. We'll see when we tear it apart. 37 degrees is the temperature of the battery. All the sensors, minus a barometer. And just for good measure, I'll open up CPU system info real quickly, just to double check everything, but I'm pretty sure it's all good. uleFone mix, the hardware, Android version, all that good stuff. System on chip, yep, all looking pretty good there. Memory, looking good. RAM is looking good. Screen is also looking a bit strange, but that's okay. Battery is, it doesn't say. Thermal though, can't tell me the CPU temperature. Sensors, cameras, what does it say for cameras? 13 megapixel, and that's it. If it was a legit secondary camera, it should at least pop up and say, hey, there's an extra one in here and it does something, but I don't think it does anything. What else do we have to test on here? I've done Geekbench, I've done gaming and everything like that, so I think it's left down to the secret codes. What will we find in here? So we have engineer mode. Will it launch? Aha, okay, there we go. Secret codes do work on Android, I think it's 2.3.6 up to Android 7. After Android 7, they don't work, and you have to manually enter them in the phone dialer. There's the LCD there, an RM68 200 HSD HD 720. The main second camera has actually come up with something, a GC0310. That could actually tell us right there what that camera is. I wonder if that code corresponds with the one that's actually installed in here. This is everything here, and if I just open up the next one, it shows that. Wait, real internal version? Is that something dodgy, or am I? No, that's okay. Engineer mode, factory mode. Oh, yep, testing, okay. Testing everything, no problems. Yep, all good. 7. Yep, where's that stress test? Here we go, stress test. Ah, okay. Do not touch the screen during the test. Vibrate. Start stress test. Here we go. Oh. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. What if I touch the screen? Okay, well, it's still alive. Stress test is stop. That's good. Well, I don't think there's anything dodgy in this, in terms of application wise anyways, and the specs all seem to check out. It's just that secondary rear camera which is bothering me because I don't exactly know what it does. That's everything that I need to test on this device. I've tested YouTube, browser, music, speaker, gaming, performance, Geekbench, everything, and I've got to say I like this phone. I actually really do like the design. Once again, the design is good, the display is good, the build quality is good for what it is. The plastic back doesn't really bother me too much, but glass would have been nice, and it's not the first phone to have the, you know, bezel-less design. There was other phones before it. This was just a clone of a clone of a clone of a clone. That's a clone of a clone, if that makes sense. I think that makes sense. For a phone released back in 2017, I reckon it's not a bad device. It would have done the job back then, and it still does the job today. I think the battery life lets it down, and the outdated version of Android, but I'm not too sure if there's a group out there that can maybe put custom ROMs on this, or if there's actually custom ROMs available for this. I'm not too sure. I didn't really check into that, but if there is, it could give some new life into this device. But as it is, for the $50 I paid for it, it's not a bad deal. To most of you, this is probably just an average device, but for me, I like the unique look of it, and since I can't get my hands on an actual Xiaomi Mix or one of those Sharp phones, I'll just settle on this. You know, the chin here could have had more functionality perhaps, with a fingerprint sensor maybe acting as a capacitive swipe button or something like that, but it's just a back button, not a home button. It's actually just a back button. If you do happen to stumble across this phone cheap and you're interested, maybe pick it up, because it's worth having to play around with and stuff like that. Could be good for some older emulation, but once again, that battery life is going to let it down, unfortunately. But for it sitting around for 2 years doing absolutely nothing with me, just occasionally switching it on and showing some people in live streams, I finally got to take a look at it, and I'm pretty happy with the performance of it. But now it's time to tear it apart, because I want to now investigate what's going on with the secondary camera. Have they implemented any type of cooling inside of the unit? Is the battery rated at 3300 milliamp hours? Let's tear it down and find out. Power it off. Off you go. And this should be a fairly easy teardown with all the fingerprints. Oh, the back's just clipped down? Oh, okay. That makes life a lot easier. I thought it was going to be stuck down, but no. Just clips. Makes for an easy battery replacement if you can get replacement parts, that's all. There we go, that's it. Oh, is that swollen? What happened to the battery? Holy moly. 3,300 milliamp hours, but what happened here? Oh, is that the flex cable's running under it? That's probably it. The manufacturing date is 2017 on this, so yeah. Oh, also that broke. Oh, there we go, fixed it. This also needs to come out. Don't want to make a jerry-rig everything mistake and leave the SIM card in there when I've pulled the whole entire phone apart and wonder why the motherboard doesn't come out, and then go, oh, that's right, the SIM tray needs to come out. I always forget the SIM tray anyways. How many screws do we need to take out? Too many. Also, I'm just going to quickly show you all the battery, because it's dangerous to disassemble, easy to burn and explode. That's really good to see on a battery. Be sure to use only with the specified charger, charging voltage limit 4.35 volts. Do not disassemble the battery, and do not use it if it is expansionary or deformed. Do not put the battery in a high temperature area. Do not store the battery for a long time when the battery is out of power or full of power. So what exactly do I do? Do I not store it or not? Because now that it's half battery, I don't know. Also, it says 3D sound on there, which is something that's usually on Welcome devices. Okay, so that just pops off like so. Oh, okay, the plot thickens. Yeah, the flex cables run like that, which is a bit strange. Wouldn't they have them going underneath the battery? Okay, so there is the bottom loudspeaker just there. No fancy stuff or anything like that. It's just a fairly standard one in there. Oh, also on the back of this is just some, I was going to say graphite tape, but that's not graphite tape, it's just plastic. Pull back the ribbons like so. There we go. Then the display ribbon can come off like that. And we can pulling up to take battery. Alright, pulling up to take battery. Oh, it's not disconnected. Now it's disconnected. Pull up to take battery. That is exactly what we're doing. Yep, there it is right there. Well, it's a back V406373P HTT0036 3.8 volt battery that is in here. Hello. That looks fine. Does that look fine? Is it 2 cells in here, is it? No, it's just 1 cell. Okay. Yeah, no, that just looks, you know, just a little bit dodgy. Just a tiny bit. So the front camera is part of this little assembly here. That's the front camera assembly right there with the proximity sensor. There's the code just there. The proximity and light sensor is all part of that with the tiny little camera there. Nothing to note. Yeah, the display ribbon runs underneath the battery and then connects to the main board. Okay, and then bending back the board, I can now take the display ribbon off. There we go, we now have the guts. And while there is a metal frame, this is an entire metal frame here that the display is sitting on, there's no thermal paste or anything like that. There's just sort of this tape on the back here. That's the only thing that's dissipating any heat from the processor. The display is being used as a bit of a heat sink. The earpiece is also incredibly tiny. It is a little tiny guy that they've put in there because obviously they needed to maximize the space, which does make sense. Cameras. Let's have a look at the cameras. So the 13 megapixel main one doesn't have any OIS, but EIS it definitely does have. But this is the dud camera. Well, I'm going to call it the dud camera because it doesn't seem to do anything. If you cover it up, it doesn't complain. So what do you do? Some phones I've had a look at, it's just a flex cable and that's it. And I have a feeling that this could be the case with this. I'll quickly just show the main board up close to see if there's anything on the stickers or anything. T816 main PCB, couple of connectors, the dual LED flashes just stuck down there, some stickers there, QR code, anything else on there? Not really, no. I'll kind of just put it all back together because I'm pretty sure that's everything I need to look at. I just want to see what this secondary camera does. There we go. It's kind of factory. Let's switch the phone on. Hopefully I didn't kill it. Okay, I didn't kill it. Wouldn't be the first time, but let's just test quickly. Let's go along to bokeh. Oh, Okay then, so the camera just decides to stop if it doesn't detect it. And holy crap, there's a sensor there. There's an itty bitty little sensor right there. I don't know what purpose this serves in. It could be something to do with light, perhaps? That camera was advertised as the one that does the DSLR bokeh effects, and it doesn't seem to do any of that. It's probably just the cheapest thing they could have thrown in here and just went, you know what, it has a secondary camera. That's basically the whole point of it, and I'll just agree with that. But otherwise, in every other lighting condition, even covering that secondary camera didn't really make much difference. So honestly, I'm not sure. Well, it's looking pretty much factory, so I'll just go ahead and stick this back on, which just snappity snaps. That was easy. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. It works now. Not entirely sure. If you have any ideas, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. But otherwise, that is going to do it for the uleFone Mix review. And the battery has gone up percentage-wise. I'm not going to question it. The review is done. I'm happy with this device. It's a fairly solid device for the price I paid. The best thing about this is the build quality as well as the display. I think they're the two standout features of this. And, you know, the design obviously, but that's borrowed from other phones and all that sort of thing. If you have used this phone in the past, let me know down in the comments below because I'd like to know your experience with this. It is always interesting to hear people's opinions on cheapo devices that they've used for a long amount of time, if they've actually been good or bad. Let me know. But otherwise, everyone, that's going to do it for the uleFone Mix review. I can't dump the system files, can I? I will try. If I can dump the system files, I'll put a link in the description below. If there's nothing there, then unfortunately I couldn't do it. But Android 7, I think I can, but I may be mistaken. I'll have to look into it. But otherwise, yeah, I finally got around to doing this review 2 years later, or more than 2 years after it's just been sitting around just sort of doing nothing. But I'm glad it still works, and yeah, I can now properly put it in my collection instead of having it to the side, just looking at it going, oh, I'll review that one day. I finally reviewed it, and yeah, that's pretty much everything I've got to say about this unit. But if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching it. I really do appreciate it. If you had to use the timestamps to get here though, that's all good. That's why they're there. If you need the timestamps to go to the teardown or whatever, that's fine. That's why they're there. That's all good. I like making in-depth reviews, and I like to have the video catering for, you know, everybody that wants to see certain things. If people want to see the whole entire thing, that's fantastic. But if people only want to see a teardown or specifications or camera tests or anything like that, that's why I include those chapters for those people who just click on the video, want to see that and move on, which is completely fine. There's absolutely no problems with that whatsoever. Don't feel bad if you have to use the timestamps. I completely understand. Sometimes I can't even watch my own videos without having to skip forward because I ramble on and talk about too many things, which I'm doing right now, so I'm going to shut up. So thank you very much to everybody who has watched, and thank you to all the recent support in the last couple of weeks with the Peacock video. Yeah, we've got a couple of new faces around here, so I hope you've all enjoyed watching the content. There is more to come. I do have this thing that I want to look at next. This is a smartwatch, and I can't really do terribly much with it, but I'm gonna try my best to do a review on this, and we'll see how we go. So expect to see this soon. But anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it as always. Until the next time I see you, please take care, stay safe, and be good people. I'll see you all in the next video, which should be taking a look at that cheapo smartwatch, which I said I was going to look at smartwatches probably 2 years ago, and I never did. I suck at planning, and I'm just going to keep rambling until the video ends. So enjoy some bloopers of me trying to say a word that I can't say. I don't know how many tries it took me, but God, it was painful. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Powered by the outstanding MT6750T octa-core processor clocked at 1.5 GHz, paired with 4 GB of RAM, it can effortlessly Mad remix. If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.